Father regretted reopening of restaurants, accusing the operators of flouting the protocols regarding their operations. Kenya recorded 375 cases of COVID-19 in the last 24 hours from 2,052 samples, pushing the caseload further to 16,643. The Ministry of Health now wants the decision to reopen restaurants suspended, saying the joints have turned out to be the epicenter of the spread of coronavirus.
That what is appalling and is heartening is actually the behavior in those bars. And I said people have thrown caution away. People are behaving in the pre-COVID ways. Masks have been thrown off, hand washing is not there, and we are urging Kenyans, if there's a time to be careful, it is now.
Director of Public Health, Dr. Francis Kuria, who stated that the sole reason for reopening the joints was to slowly reopen the economy, regretted that the operators had thrown caution to the winds.
Restaurants were opened so they could sell foods and open up the economy. But those restaurant owners have turned those restaurants into bars. So if those restaurants are closed tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, they have asked for that closure. I don't know what decision will be made, but the note has been taken of this misconduct of restaurant owners. And I would urge the decision makers to take very stern action against those contravening these rules.
Since July the 6th, 2020, when President Uhuru Kenyatta lifted ban on inter-county movement, a total of 8,576 people have tested positive for coronavirus. Kenya recorded 375 cases of COVID-19 Saturday, raising the caseload to 16,643 just days to the projected August peak of infections. Nairobi once again had the bulk of those infected at 240, Kajiado had 36 cases, Kiambu 31, Migori 16, Machakos 15, Nakuru 14, Nyeri 5, Kisumu, Uasin Gishu and Mombasa counties 3 cases each, Trans Nzoia 2 cases, Meru, Kakamega, Kisii, Siaya, Vihiga and Murang'a 1 case each.
On a positive note, 128 patients have recovered from the disease. Out of this, 74 are from the home-based care program, while 51 were discharged from the various hospitals.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health has declared diabetes, obesity and hypertension as major risk factors for COVID-19 in the country.
Sadly, out of those who have died, over 50% had pre-existing or underlying conditions.
The National Assembly will suspend its Tuesday and Thursday sittings beginning August 5th, 2020 to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in Parliament. The lawmakers will only hold 2 sessions on Wednesdays should the proposed alteration of the National Assembly calendar be approved on Tuesday when they resume from recess.
More stringent measures are being put in place to protect members of parliament and parliamentary staff from contracting the coronavirus. Though the Parliamentary Service Commission has remained economical with information on the veracity of the COVID-19 situation in parliament, there is a proposal to limit National Assembly sittings to 2 each week. Members of the National Assembly are expected to reconvene next Tuesday after a short recess, and among items on their in tray is consideration of a proposal to alter the calendar by the House Business Committee. The Senate has already approved a motion by the Procedure and Rules Committee on amendments to the Senate standing orders to facilitate virtual sittings of the Senate and its committees. Meanwhile, Gatundu South MP Moses Kuria is now blaming ODM leader Raila Odinga of quietly whipping ODM senators to shoot down the proposed revenue sharing formula.
Kama kuna handshake, kwa nini Raila Odinga ameambia maseneta wake waangusha hii sheria? Tusipewe pesa sisi. Ni kuonyesha ya kwamba Raila mpango yake ilikuwa sisi tufukuzwe, aachwe na Uhuru, halafu amugeuke. Na nilijua tu atamugeuka.
But in a rejoinder, East Africa Legislative Assembly MP Oburu Odinga and his Alego Usonga counterpart Samuel Atandi said ODM is firmly in support of the President's development agenda.
People are saying system is not important, but system is very important. And now we are with Uhuru Kenyatta, who is holding the system. So if the system plus our votes, which are always more than the others, what else?
We are looking for power, and in 2022, we are going to power. And the route we are going to use to power is through President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Senate Majority Whip Irungu Kang'ata says they will not adjourn sittings again, and any senator opposed to the formula is deemed as opposing the Building Bridges Initiative Task Force recommendations.
We are thinking on one of the proposals in the BBI is that devolve 35% of the entire national revenue to the counties. That translates to about an extra 10 billion per county. So the idea that people are fearing, hey, some counties are going to lose, is hogwash. It's not true. It's false.
The debate on the third basis for revenue allocation among the county government has stalled in the Senate amid protests by a section of senators who argue that the third generation formula is robbing Peter to pay Paul. For Channel 1 News, I am Edward Kabasa.
From Parliament to Nairobi, City Affairs in what he kicked off in a tweet that he was intoxicated before signing the transfer of deeds to the national government. Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko is now trying every effort to reclaim the functions he let go. Sonko claims he has faced frustration and intimidation by Nairobi Metropolitan Services and will no longer take it anymore. Legal experts, however, are of the view that disputes arising from the transfer of functions cannot be resolved by a court process.
In what looks like a game of musical choirs, well choreographed, Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko first insinuated that he was not himself when he was signing the transfer of function to the national government. Sonko sensationally claimed that he was treated to drinks, and by the time he was signing the transfer of deeds, he was not of sound mind.
There was no time afforded to His Excellency the Nairobi City County Governor to read this document or seek legal consultations thereupon prior to executing it. He was then given a pen and directed to execute the same next to his name. This was sheer duress. It is thus not binding on the Nairobi City County government.
Now he claims that the transfer violated the Intergovernmental Relations Act, saying there is a bad faith in the takeover of the key functions.
I believe whether it's county government or national government, service delivery is very essential to the people. So whether we are in existence or not.
However, a section of legal experts are now of the view that seeking legal intervention may not resolve the dispute between the two levels of government.
If there's an illegality in law, it is an illegality ab initio from the beginning. This was wrong from the beginning, and that nothing makes it right now. The fact that the governor acted in the manner that he did cannot be sanitized by a court process right now because the procedure wasn't properly followed.
Lawyer Eddie Orinda says political considerations could not have taken the center stage in the transfer of powers to an extent of overriding the legal consideration, making Governor Mike Sonko non-functional.
I think there might have been very noble reasons for the governor, considering that he was not functional based on the court orders that he was confronted with, and therefore felt that these functions would then best be managed by transferring these powers. But those political considerations cannot supersede constitutional and legislative provisions for transfer of such powers.
With several court orders already limiting the functions of Mike Sonko as governor, even though he still remains in office, lawyer Eddie Orinda says allowing an alternative process to manage Nairobi County, which is an international hub, gives value to the taxpayer and electorate who put the governor in office.
I think what needs to happen is both levels of government need to subject this issue to the provisions that are outlined in the Intergovernmental Relations Act to regularize it. Because unless it is regularized, it remains unlawful and unconstitutional. So all the political considerations and infrastructure being built around it cannot sanitize it.
Ben Chumba, reporting for Channel 1 News.
Thank you, Ben. At Godfrey, you're watching from Shihumbu, Shinyalu. At Koskei, Kisoi Dennis, you also tuned in from Kitui County. The Duke, on Twitter, you're saying you're already tuned in from Makueni County. Bobo Tieno Owino, locked in from Manyata. And then we have at B.O. O'Brien, at Brian Osapir, 254. You tuned in from Busia County. Keep talking to us. Keep telling us what your views are. Your feedback on our news items tonight is highly appreciated. I will be sampling most of them during this broadcast. We're taking our first commercial break. Don't go too far. We still have plenty more to come. Stay with us.
When the world changed, it made us go back to the simple joys and love the little things even more, like serving up your best, eating together, and sharing more. Now, we'll take nothing for granted and always remember to taste the simple joys. Coca-Cola. Taste the simple joys.
My friend, yani wewe unajua kutime sana unangoja wakati tu nimekaa kwa nyumba peke yangu pole pole, nimenaosha mkono nikule nyama yangu, saizi ndio unanipigia simu. Ulikuwa wapi wakati nilikuwa kwa duka huko naenda kutafuta unga nikuje nipike ugali?
Kupata unajua kutime sana, bonyeza *811 *815 hash. Bonyeza *811 *815 hash.
Utafanya hivi, itabidi hata wewe umengoja.
As Kenyans, we don't waste a chance to perform. When we moved from analog to digital, we took the opportunity to share our talanta. And the rise of local radio represented our voices mtaani. It is important that we don't forget that. And now, in these difficult times, free educational shows are helping our children learn from home. And new ICT and educational platforms are going to make sure that no one is left behind.
Mawasiliano kwetu, nguvu kwako. The Communications Authority of Kenya. Opening your world.
And thank you for staying tuned. Tourists have begun trickling into the Masai Mara Game Reserve in Narok County to witness the annual wildebeest migration after KBC Channel 1 highlighted the breathtaking spectacle dubbed the 8th wonder of the world. The migration of the wildebeest from Serengeti in Tanzania to the Masai Mara in Kenya is taking place at a time the tourism industry has been crippled by the coronavirus pandemic.
Every year, about 2 million wildebeest cross the Mara River from the Serengeti National Reserve in Tanzania to the Masai Mara National Game Reserve in Kenya in search of greener pastures. The annual spectacle, which routinely attracts thousands of tourists, has been met with less excitement this year due to COVID-19. A few tourists have, however, braved the pandemic to witness the spectacle.
This is the first time in my life I see us crossing. Can you imagine? Look at the color of them, really, and it's the first time.
Sometime last year, this place was abuzz with activity as tourists, both local and international, flocked the Mara to have a feel of the 8th wonder of the world.
I definitely recommend other people, when you have the chance now, to come to the Masai Mara, because it's very quiet. So it's especially good for domestic tourism. Many people that I know from Nairobi left the country and went back to Europe and the US, and we decided to stay in Kenya, and actually it's working out very well for us.
The county government says it is doing everything possible to shield the Mara from the effects of COVID-19 and help save thousands of livelihoods negatively impacted by the pandemic.
Tourism is a critical contributor to the economic well-being of our county, city is a major economic inch into the overall Kenyan economy. The tourism industry has been the worst affected of all the major economic sectors due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
We also want the government to actually bring this testing service closer to the people. There are probably about 4 gates here, which you must go through to get into the park, or 5. Is it possible we can have testing facilities in these gates?
But with the spiraling COVID-19 statistics, uncertainty still hangs above Kenya's tourism industry.
The fast spread of the novel coronavirus and how to stop it continues to dominate the news agenda in the world. Governments, health bodies, and citizens at large rely on media outlets for information. However, journalists are facing a myriad of threats as they try to execute their mandate as the fourth estate. Kenya is no exception, and we highlight some of the health and economic challenges facing reporters and journalists in the country during the pandemic. Take a look.
With the country having recorded 307 new coronavirus cases,
reporting in the time of COVID-19.
Asilimia 90 ya wafanyakazi.
As part of those providing essential services, journalists are facing more threats at this time. After the first case of coronavirus was confirmed in Kenya in mid-March 2020, the local media immediately latched onto the story. Journalists were in their element, informing and educating audiences on the new disease that was slowly bringing the world to a standstill.
We overexposed our journalists. There was massive crowding around COVID-19 briefings and other places, and that was risky.
Over time, a number found themselves as part of the statistics. At 6 a.m. on a Friday morning, Johnston Eddy, not his real name, a journalist working for one of Kenya's media organizations, is at the rooftop of his residence in Nairobi. A COVID-19 patient in recovery and a home-based care. Doctors have told him that physical exercise will boost his fight against the disease, which currently has no cure.
I received another call from my boss and he told me, are you okay? Are you good? Yes, I told him I'm good. When you're free, let me know because I can hear you. You are in a mat. Actually, I was coming from town. When I reached him in the house, I called him back. And he told me now the results came out and you tested positive. The only thing that is keeping me on is these exercises, drinking warm water, mixed with ginger, lemon, and garlic, and a bit of honey. Yes, those are my home remedies.
He is not sure where and how he contracted coronavirus.
As a journalist, I've been interacting with so many people, isn't it? You'll find me there holding my camera with my fellow cameramen, you see. And I even gone to some of the isolation centers. We've done interviews with these, and having wear the PPEs, it's not an assurance that you cannot get COVID.
Johnston is currently adhering to the government's protocol on prevention and management of COVID-19, hoping that his next test will turn out negative.
I'm feeling okay. No pain, imagine. No any symptoms. I'm not coughing. I'm not having the dry throat or sneezing or headache. Yeah, I'm just like that. And actually, I'll get back until the result turns negative. That I'm very sure that next time when I go there and I pray to God, I turn negative.
Winnie Kamau, a Kenyan freelance journalist, recounts how she was forced into isolation back in March, soon after arriving in the country from Sierra Leone.
When we arrived at the airport, you were given the yellow cards to fill in. So I filled out a form and was stamped in, and got in.
At that time, Kenya had just reported the first case of infection, which incidentally was an imported case. Also, she was already experiencing flu-like symptoms.
After they did the test, the following day, I got worse. So I was told to take antibiotics. So I took antibiotics and paracetamol. So I was like, okay, let me see, maybe it will now get better. But the chest pains were too much. I called 719 again. They told me they have to evacuate me.
Winnie was isolated at Mbagathi Hospital in Nairobi for 14 days, after which she tested negative.
They did another test, and we stayed there for like 3 nights and 4 days. And doctors would come doing their rounds, and they'll just check your temperature. They ask you how you're feeling. On the 4th day, then they gave us the results and told us we are done. As in, like, we can now go home.
Having defeated COVID-19, she tells me, another battle awaited her: stigma.
I remember when I came back and my neighbor was just saying hi to my neighbor. You could see even the way they're... And the kids were curious to see who's this, and the way they're pushing their kids inside the house. For me, I'm still scared. I don't want to push my body. I can't, and I don't want to go out there so much. And in my interactions, like I'm looking at things from a different perspective.
Brian Waihenya is also a Kenyan journalist based in Nakuru and living with disability. He narrates how movement restrictions have affected him and his work.
The challenge of financial constraints, and I think that is one of the most popular challenges that we face as people with disability. We don't have work, and we don't have the means by which we can take ourselves from point A to point B, because it needs money.
The experiences shared by Johnston, Winnie, and Brian are a representation of how this pandemic has directly impacted journalists as they go about their business.
At the end of the day, journalists are human beings. And like they always say, there's no story worth your life.
Watch social distance, wash your hands, sanitize your equipment, take it seriously.
According to data compiled by the Media Council of Kenya, about 50 Kenyan journalists have tested positive for coronavirus. Other than exposure to infection, the livelihoods of many journalists have been affected. More than 400 have lost their jobs, while thousands have taken pay cuts due to economic effects caused by the global health crisis.
Luckily, we haven't had extremely serious people. Many people have gotten admitted or quarantined. Most of the people so far we know have come out alive to go on with their lives. But if you, for example, a correspondent who's paid per article, if you are quarantined for 14 days, it means you are not working and you need food.
It is the responsibility of an employer to ensure that employee is safe and working in a safe environment. When employees actually are infected or get in contact with this virus, it means this happened while they are on line of duty.
No one can control the timing of a viral infection, but in a country like Kenya, they can control what people know about it through sharing information via different media outlets. Therefore important to protect journalists, the unsung heroes. Purity Museo, Channel 1 News, Nairobi. The unsung heroes, they are journalists across the world at the front line in the fight against coronavirus, and from data given or presented exclusively to Channel 1 by the Media Council of Kenya, at least 50 journalists here in the country have reported to have tested positive for COVID-19, with over 400 losing their jobs. That is in Kenya. So how should they best be protected. That was the part one of this series that ends tomorrow Sunday, and tomorrow on the front line we focus on the healthcare workers, some or most of whom have contracted the virus again in line of duty, the struggles they are going through, and again the issues they are raising. So why don't you tune in for that? Let's move on. The National Irrigation Authority is implementing household water harvesting irrigation program by constructing small water ponds for free to individual farmers in various counties across the country. National Irrigation Authority Chief Executive Officer Gitonga Mugambi says the main objective of the project is to harvest surface runoff to help farmers carry out supplementary irrigation activities throughout the year instead of waiting for the unpredictable rains.
In the project rolled out across all the 47 counties, the small water ponds are expected to boost irrigation and food security as farmers can draw water for irrigation and for animals. With over 2,000 water ponds already completed and being used by the farmers, National Irrigation Authority Chief Executive Officer Gitonga Mugambi says the exercise is free of charge and is aimed at enhancing food security.
No Kenyan is supposed to pay for this. All what we are telling the farmers, for you as a farmer, you need to fence these water ponds once it has been provided to you. Once we have identified that, then what we do is that every farmer there is requested if he's interested. And all those who are interested within that vicinity, neighbor to neighbor, we don't bypass anybody, neighbor to neighbor is provided until when the resources meant for that village are exhausted.
Mugambi says the National Irrigation Authority is working closely with the county government to identify priority areas within counties that are more deserving.
The demand is very high, and what we are doing is that we are working with the local leadership. We are working with the area MCA, we are working with the area MPs, and also the county government to identify an area within a ward of a county.
Once identified, farmers are required to fence the water ponds after completion and put the water into use.
What we are doing is that we are hiring this machinery from the Kenyans. They are contractors. We are contracting to do this work for these communities. And at the same time also, we are telling the farmer, or the requirement of the farmer is to make sure he has used this water, or the family has used this water to irrigate some piece of land for their own food.
Boniface Mwanza and Stephen Minor are some of the beneficiaries of the project. They say they have changed their lives after investing in irrigation.
Kazi yangu sasa ni kulima venye nimepata maji. Mbeleni tulikuwa hatulimi ndio kukosa maji.
My youth wengi hawakuwa na job, but after the water ponds my youth wengi wamebenefit.
Nilikuwa naendea maji mahali mbali ama kwa mto ya kufua, but for now mimi naweza sema imenisaidia sana, manake siendangi kuchota maji ya kufua, natumia hiyo.
It has really helped me because I've been able to irrigate these pineapples you see here. They have changed my life.
Niko na greens, kunde ziko, niko na miwa, niko na ndizi, avocado nimepanda. So naona in future itanisaidia sana, hata kuliko vile imenisaidia sahi.
Ben Chumba, reporting for Channel 1 News.
For slightly over 7 months now, tens of thousands of families residing along the Lake Victoria have been rendered homeless. Business and property worth billions of shillings destroyed as the lake backflow wreaks havoc. Experts say this is the highest the water in lake has risen since 1891, surpassing the 13.4 meters mark, and are warning unless drastic measures are taken to preserve forest cover in the catchment areas, the intervals between the receding and backflow of the lake is likely to create even more havoc. Beginning tonight, our Nyanza region reporter Achola Simon puts the phenomenon into perspective in a 3-part series, The Fury of the Mother Nature.
Rains continue to wreak havoc in parts of the country. This comes as the Meteorological Department announces that the heavy rains will continue throughout the week.
5 people were found dead in 2 pools of water in Joka area off Kangundo Road after a night of heavy rains that caused flash floods in the area.
Kenya Meteorological Department has urged Kenyans to be vigilant with the heavy rainfall which is being experienced across the country and has led to high flows in most rivers and landslides in ground saturated with water.
As predicted by the weatherman, the heavy rains continued for days and weeks, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. And finally, when the rain stopped, seemingly so did the lives of tens of thousands of people who reside along the lake. For some, life has literally ground to a halt. A walk along the beaches on the shores of Lake Victoria paints the picture in the most explicit manner. Beach management unit offices, residential homes, business premises and private farms along the lake shores all submerged in water as Lake Victoria overflows with water, causing massive destruction. From Osieko village in Busia County, Usenge Beach in Siaya County, Bedunga Beach in Busia County, Kochia village in Homa Bay County, and Sori in Migori County, families and businesses owners are counting their losses. In Kochia village, residents wade through pools of water approximately 100 meters away from the lake shores.
The lake used to be very far, 100 meters from this place. Yeah. And when the backflow started, water started coming slowly and taking everything. The arable land, the land which was used for agriculture, has been taken by water. The places where people used to live also have been taken by water, and also the grazing land has been taken by water.
The free flow of water into the homes comes with challenges. Wild animals, including snakes, hippos, and other amphibians, crawling into the homesteads at night and daytime. Pungent smell from the rotting water hyacinths has also permeated the air. The water is no longer fit for consumption. In fact, the submerging of toilets along the lake shores has left the locals in fear of contracting waterborne diseases.
Magonjwa, hii maji imetuletea magonjwa. Umbu inatuuma, hatuwezi kupata nafasi. Dorobo pia inaingia, inauma hata ng'ombe, inaumisa. Sasa hata vitu vidogo vidogo kama nyoka hivi vinaweza kutembea na kurudi nje, kuona nje, kwa sababu maji imewatosha. Zinakuja zinaingia kwa manyumba kutoka ndani ya maji baharini, kwa sababu maji iko karibu na mlango.
Yeah, we are really worried because this is the same water that we are using for drinking, we are using for any domestic work, and it is now contaminated by the human waste due to the collapse of toilets. Yeah, so we are really fearing that due to that we may get outbreak of cholera.
Accessing the reeds and papyrus that used to provide a source of income to the locals is now a test of skill and patience. This has been the norm for the last 6 months, and as matters stand, there is no reprieve yet in the horizon. Villagers here tell horrifying tales of how their lives have changed since the beginning of the year.
Mimi naomba serikali hata mtu mwingine usaidia mimi kitu. Pale ya kukaa mimi hapana jua. Kwa ile mpanga mimi nachukua pande gani kufanya mimi kujenga nyumbani. Mimi nasaidia, nasema mtu saidia mimi. Kwa maana bwana yangu nakisako. Mimi niko na watoto 10 na ile nyingine ndio hii kubwa anakwenda kufutafuta chakula. Kwa maana sasa maneno ya injini ya hapo sasa ngumu.
For Mama Pamela Odhiambo, She has made it a ritual to constantly walk to where her home used to be. As days go by, the overflowing water continues to wash away any memories of what used to be her home.
Maji ameingia mingi, ameingia kwa nyumba. Mimi kutoka hapo uende hapa. Kabla uende hapa, maji yameingia mingi ingine. Mmetoa hapo kuende hapa.
The waters have consumed every bit of the soil that was her mud walled house, and the timber used to construct the roof found meaningful use in the kitchen. Her daily stroll to where her house used to be only reminds her of the neglect she and the community feels every passing day. She has since built a tin-walled house a few meters away from where her home used to be. While she could afford a roof for her 6 children, the next compound that hosts a church is now home to 26-year-old Dosila Tieno, a mother of 12, 6 of her own and 6 adopted.
Saa hii si sawa kabisa, kwa sababu hii maji kuna mosquito. Kama ikifika kitu kama saa 10 hivi unasikia joto kabisa. Saa hii maisha ni ngumu kwa sababu pesa hakuna, tumekaa tu, hakuna biashara. Mimi pia nimekaa mpaka mzee pia.
The experience by Mama Dosila and Pamela well exemplifies what the locals residing along the lake are going through. Unfortunately, the powers that be seem to have forgotten all about them. Well, they are basically on their own. It's not just private homes. Tomorrow we delve into the massive losses incurred by businesses along the lake. Achola Simon reporting for Channel 1 Weekend from Homa Bay County.
Thank you so much, Achola Simon. The fury of Mother Nature tonight, just highlighting how lack of forest conservation is causing homes, especially for the residents around or along in the Nyanza region. And tomorrow, again, as he said, he will be having a look at how this is affecting business in that particular area. The Kenya Broadcasting Corporation Editorial Services Fraternity on Saturday held a retirement party for one of the corporation's longest-serving journalist, Edward Ndege Kadilo. Kadilo, who joined the corporation in 1980, while it was still known as Voice of Kenya, started his career in the television design department before moving to the newsroom as a newscaster and translator in 1989. Colleagues celebrated the legendary television and radio news anchor as a devoted, hard-working, team player and selfless individual. Take a look.
It was one joyous Saturday afternoon at the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation newsroom. A few members of staff gathered to celebrate veteran journalist Edward Ndege Kadilo. A dose of coastal music playing homage to Kadilo's coastal roots. Cutting of a decadent cake and gifts.
I think today there's nobody who can say I brushed shoulders with Kadilo. He was a great man and always ready to advise and ready to assist when necessary. Attributes that most of us aspire for, and we hope that the footpaths he has set ahead of us, we will try and toe his line.
Tulikuwa napigana kufanya kazi ya shift ya Kadilo. Shift ya Kadilo, kila mtu anataka kufanya hiyo. Asante sana Kadilo.
Waweza kuwa mtu wa watu. Kulingana na jinsi ushuhuda umetokea, ni kwamba kila mmoja alikuwa anaona heri kufanya kazi nao.
Most memorable was his contribution to the growth of the KBC Editorial Services Department.
One of the memories I love most is that you're very down to earth. Ni umekuwa mzee wa hekima, Mungu amekuongoza, endelea hivyo hivyo.
Your laughter was contagious.
Kusema kweli hadhi yake iko huko juu kabisa.
Siku ya kwanza nimeingia kwa screen hapa. Nakumbuka tulikutana hapo corridors. Ukaniambia fanya hivi, fanya hivi. lakini ile neno ambalo nilikuwa napenda kutumia sana ni kazi safi. Nilikuwa najua kama hujaniambia hiyo neno, kulikuwa na makosa hapo.
You helped out a lot. You are very good with follow up, and up to date you are very good with follow up.
Naweza sema kwamba ni mtu ambaye akona ile tajriba ya uvumilivu na mtu akusikiza, kupatia mawaidha wakati wote ambao unahitaji.
Kadilo ni mojawapo ya watu ambao tulikutana nao, watu ambao kando na usomaji wa habari pia kuna utoaji wa nasaha hapa na pale.
Na nilikuwa nikisikiliza kwa radio, nikasema natamani nikuwe siku moja nikifanya kazi kama hiyo.
Tafadhali ukiweza andika hata kama ni kitabu, kitaweza kutusukuma sisi ambao tuko kwa hii fani sahihi.
Kadilo, a celebrated journalist and household name, has mentored and nurtured many while working at the national broadcaster, which he joined 40 years ago when it was known as Voice of Kenya.
Tuliajiriwa vijana kadhaa kama mkataba fulani. So tukaja tukafanyishwa mtihani na kwa bahati nzuri nikafaulu na tukachukuliwa.
Just like all budding journalists, he too looked up to a number of role models before taking up a leap into the industry.
Kuna watangazaji ilikuwa nishawashika kabisa majina yao na nilikuwa napendezwa na vile wanavyotangaza, so kanivutia zaidi.
And as he ends his journey at KBC at the prime age of 60, his call to upcoming journalists, especially newsreaders, is
lazima uwe unajua katika fani hii ya habari, ujue matukio mbalimbali yanayotukia duniani, nchini, ili kwamba hata unaposoma zile habari ni kitu ambacho wewe mwenyewe unakielewa.
From the KBC Editorial Services fraternity, it's bye-bye and best wishes to Kadilo.
Lakini ile muda ambao tuko hapa, tunataka kila mtu angalie ile record ambao Kadilo amewacha.
May the Lord bless you. May he expand your territories. Na pia, may he protect you from evil.
I can say when I came here and I saw the humility that you have, it's something that I'll carry, I think, for the rest of my life.
Kamchemenza for Channel 1 News.
Oh wow, I feel bad I missed that party, but Kadilo, yani, very accommodative, a mentor to all, the kindest person you will ever meet in this world. Kadilo, it's not bye-bye. Of course, I'll be calling you and asking you a few questions before I go on air like I always do. We now take another break here on Channel 1 Weekend. Stay with us, you're back shortly.
To read their Bible daily, they become wiser and they become stronger than the people who don't read their Bibles. So when you choose hard, difficult things, you become a natural leader. He brings us to church to introduce to us another higher level of relationship that is called a faith relationship. You are also a solution to somebody else's problem. You cannot be the only problem all the time.
Join Pastor Jimmy Masharia on The Master's Touch this Sunday from 8 a.m. on KBC Channel 1.
On the next episode of Behind Closed Doors.
Pilar, may I ask, what is wrong with you?
That I want everybody out of my house, including you. Or did you forget that you can't come in here?
Ismael. Ismael. Please, give me water. What? Give me water. Water? Give me a little water. Of course. Enough, or you want more?
Yes, very good column, sir. It really helped me understand my parents.
What else can I do for you?
I'd like to see your daughter, sir.
Jane!
Actually, I'm here for Kara.
Nice to meet you, Marty. Come back in 2 years.
Dad?
There goes Jane's college education. There goes Kara's.
What about mine?
Oh, you're good. Ah, no, wait. There it goes.
I'm looking for a book.
This is actually quite the page turner there. I met somebody, and she's really something.
Dan, this is my girlfriend, Annie. And, Annie, this is my brother, Dan.
I find myself thinking about you. I am going to focus all of my thoughts on your flaws.
Oh, sorry. Are you taking a shower? Yes.
I went a little nutty, got a little stupid.
Honey, you've made some mistakes.
So many. Just go now. Okay, stop, break. Oh! Sorry, student driver.
Dan in real life.
Welcome back. The Nairobi Metropolitan Services is working on a modality to have street families enlisted in Kazi Mtaani programs to make them eke a living. The move, according to the Nairobi Metropolitan Services Director General, Major General Mohammed Badi, is part of government's strategy to curb crime and reduce the number of street families that have dotted the city streets. Badi was speaking when he received donations from well-wishers to help street families during the coronavirus pandemic.
The government has embarked on a program to have young people employed in manual jobs to make them earn a living during this difficult economic time. The initiative is meant to offer relief, particularly to youths and families in distress who have been adversely affected by the coronavirus pandemic.
We were most impressed and particularly touched by the work that you are doing to rescue the street children and families around the Grogon area, using their skill and their potential to engage in the rehabilitation of the city.
In seeking to have street families benefit from this initiative, the Nairobi Metropolitan Services is working on a modality on how this group can also be assisted.
NMS is concentrating so much in the informal settlements to help those needy families within those informal settlements. Notwithstanding that, we also took care of the street family, and the best way of assisting them is to ensure that we employ them as casual laborers in the Grogan work.
Speaking at the Kenyatta International Convention Center while receiving donations from a group of well-wishers, Nairobi Metropolitan Services Director General Major General Mohammed Badi said the government was working on a solution to reduce crime in the city and the number of street families that continue to increase day by day.
This is the first time this sort of arrangement has been made with the street families. And since it has worked out well, I'm sure all other agencies will engage them because the more we remove them out of the street, the less the crime. And remember, even the street children are Kenyan.
Badi said once enlisted, the street families will be able to earn a decent living and move out of the streets.
From our Facebook page, Channel 1 News, watching live from Kilungu, Nunguni, journalists should be provided with PPEs just like medics. That's what Mark Harry, you are saying. And then Boss Kelvin, you're also watching Channel 1 Weekend. Jemo, you were saying you're watching from Kisii County. And then we also have Ward Acheng, you are also tuned in from Kisumu County. And lastly, we have Stephen Smartboy, who is tuned in from Ruaka. Keep talking to us and engaging us on Twitter, Facebook. We are also live. You can stream the Channel 1 News Weekend. One person has been reported dead in Tangulbei, Tiati sub-county, following heavy rains witnessed in the area last night. Cheboro Natikor is said to have been swept away while she was asleep after River Tangulbei broke its banks. These and more stories in news making headlines in the counties.
One person has been reported dead in Tangulu Bay after floods swept through the area last night. Jaboro Natikor is said to have been sleeping when River Tangulu Bay broke its bank, sweeping her away.
We want our people to move to higher grounds, wajiepushe na very dangerous situations like that where flooding is coming. You move, take safety.
Meanwhile, the Kenya Forest Service has repossessed about 100 acres of forest land in Nyandarua County that had been grabbed by a private developer. According to the head of Central Highlands Conservancy, Samuel Ihure, the said land is catchment area for Lake Ol Bolosat and will be protected for its natural regeneration.
Our request is wale watu wengine kama hatujafika kwako, tafadhali ujitoe polepole, because you still be coming back na surveyors wetu.
And police officers in Mumias West Kakamega County have commenced investigations into an assassination attempted against a local administrator.
Nikasikia tu sauti ya bunduki. Twa! Nikashtuka nini mbaya?
We are on the ground, as you have seen. We are following some leads. We shall succeed in getting hold of these characters.
Elsewhere, over 2,000 squatters in Ugatuzi Kisauni constituency are up in arms following an eviction notice to vacate a 100-acre piece of land they claim ownership.
Kutokia juzi tumekiwa eviction board hapa. Tukashangaa. Sheria twazijua sisi. How can you be served an eviction before a court order?
Sasa tunapigwa tukipigwa, tuende wapi sisi? Na hapa ndio nyumbani. Sisi hatuna kwa kuenda jamani. Mtu angalie.
While more than 3,000 families in Junju Ward in Kilifi County will now have access to fresh and clean water following the completion of 2 water projects by the county government.
Na kupata kwa maji ni mpaka maji ufanye kuuziwa au mwenye maji naye yuko na maji lakini hataki kuuza. Sasa hii tunashukuru kwa sababu ndoto yetu leo imekamilika.
Finally, police in Narok South Sub-County have impounded over 4,000 cider posts on transit from Masai Mau Forest without legal permits.
Tumeanzisha operation dhidi ya wale wanahusika na ukataji wa miti. Wale wachache ambao walikuwa wamejificha kulimalima katika area ya Catline.
Let's now get the sport and athletics. Kenya Nairobi branch chairperson Barnabas Korir has urged Kenyan athletes to lead a coordinated national anti-doping education and awareness campaign and promote integrity for doping-free sport. This comes after a few days after some Kenyan athletes, including top cream Elijah Manangoi, was suspended by Athletes Integrity Unit AIU for breaking World Anti-Doping Agency rules.
What a run this is. Silver 2 years ago for Manangoi. Gold tonight. Cherry at the silver.
On Thursday, 2017, World 1500 meters champion Elijah Manangoi became the latest Kenyan to be suspended over anti-doping violations. Manangoi was provisionally suspended in a case of whereabouts failures by the Athletics Integrity Unit, Track and Field's doping watchdog organization. 3 other athletes, long-distance runner Kenneth Kipkemoi, Mercy Kibarus and Patrick Siele, were also charged by the AIU for violation of anti-doping rules. Athletics Kenya Nairobi branch chairman Barnabas Korir and former world record holder in marathon Patrick Macau have urged Kenyan athletes to lead a coordinated national anti-doping education and awareness campaign and promote integrity for doping-free sports.
It's really devastating because this is a very simple thing that our athletes should be doing. If you find that all these athletes have got mobiles, they know how to use the applications, it is very easy to inform AIU about the position of an individual where they are at a particular time. But when you find that they miss 3 times, it brings into sharp focus on whether our artists are serious in what they're doing.
Most of these allegations are about missing doping test, and it's something which is which it can be controllable. And at the moment, I can't say Kenya we have done that much worse than like this country Russia. Yeah, what we are missing just the education and more so about how we can feel our whereabouts from.
Other Kenyan distance running stars who have been banned in recent years for failing drug tests include, among others, Rita Jepto, Timaima Sumgong, and Asbel Kiprop. Frederick Muki for Channel 1 Sports.
And that report brings us to the end of Channel 1 Weekend this Saturday evening. A lot of your feedback coming in. If I could quickly run through some of them. Caleb Arab Koskei, you are tuned in from Kericho County. At Bukosa, you are also tuned in. Edgar Elirot, you are watching from Mikindani in Mombasa. And then we had Football Fanatic, you are saying that you are tuned in from Kiambu Town. Bildad Award, thank you so much for your love and for your feedback. Let's also go to Facebook, and there is Grace Atieno, who is tuned in from Kakamega. Watching from Tala Machakos is Amy Tashi. Saidi, you're watching from Tesoland. Vincent Makanga, you are saying you are tuned in. Thank you so much. Mulava also, Blessed, you are tuned in from Makuene. And lastly, Nganga Thuku from Kawangware. Thank you so much. It's always great having your company, interacting with you. That's the end of our broadcast tonight. And of course, tomorrow, Channel 1 Weekend continues. See you then. My name is Purity Museo. Byron Abuli has been our sign language interpreter. But there is tonight weather. It's important to understand what we are expecting this week, especially now that flood has begun wreaking havoc in some parts of this country, especially in Baringo and, of course, in Nyanza region. Do look out for that. Irene Muchuma Odim coming up shortly with the weather forecast. Good night and enjoy the rest of our programming.
Good evening and a very warm welcome to Channel 1 Weather Updates. My name is Irene Muchuma Odim. Just as predicted by the weather experts, Baringo County experienced heavy downpour in the previous 24 hours, and these are some of the pictures we were able to capture for you, as well as highlights in our bulletins. The weather experts are warning that this would continue up to the 27th of this month, and we are likely to record up to 70 millimeters amount of rainfall during this period. But then what is happening tonight, most parts of the country have been covered with scattered clouds, save for the North Rift and northwestern parts of the country, where there are showers accompanied by thunderstorms. And that is how it will be for the rest of the night. In the capital, we'll wake up to a cool and cloudy morning. Similarly in Meru and Nyeri, this will also be accompanied with sunny intervals. There will be sunny conditions over the northeastern parts of the country and the coastal strip. It will rain in Lodwar and its environs. Sunny conditions will dominate the Lake Basin region as well as the western parts of the country. But then come in the afternoon, we'll see showers accompanied by thunderstorms dominating Baringo, Elgeyo Marakwet, Narok, Nakuru, Eldoret, and Kisii areas. These, as the northeastern parts of the country will experience sunny conditions. There will be wet conditions over a few areas. In the northwestern, sunny conditions will also continue over the coastal strip. The highest temperatures across the country stand at 33 degrees Celsius. That is for tomorrow. Nairobi tonight experience 12 degrees Celsius, and tomorrow we're expecting maximum of 24 degrees Celsius. That is how weather is shaping up in the home country. How about we cross the borders and see how it will be in other parts of the world? Do have a good night and a blessed day.